Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. In this video today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at Cardano and why I am not concerned over the recent trading activity of ADA. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with that said, done and out of the way, let's dive down into the charts and take a look at what's going on here with ADA. Okay guys, so we're just going to really just focus in on this weekly chart for a moment, just to kind of appreciate the progress that's been had so far and what is likely to occur next. Okay, so as many of you original members of Cheeky Crypto will know, we are tracking these 5 impulsive moves to the upside. This is obviously what has been formed on pretty much most of these crypto charts for this entire bull run, right? We are tracking this from March 2020 all the way through to where we are thinking the bull run is likely to end in early 2022. Okay, so from March, we had the first impulsive wave to the upside. This actually topped out at around July time for ADA, before we went down and we pulled into a correction wave here for wave 2. Now, as you can see, wave 2 went down to a low point in September of 2020, in the same way that we saw, pullbacks in September of 2021. Every September, you're going to expect this kind of thing to happen. We kind of make it happen ourselves. But also, when we came out of that, it was also just trading sideways, right? It was quite a long time before we actually started to see some interesting moves. This actually happened in kind of late November before we started to even then see another sideways trade around the resistance area of the previous high of wave 1, right? And we were trading sideways here until we got into the new year. Basically, as soon as the new year came around, bam, we went straight up. So we topped out wave 3 up here in May, right? And basically from March through to May, we've seen 14,000% in gains. Now, to put that into context, for that same time period, Bitcoin moved 1,600%, Ethereum 5,100%. It is slower than things like VeChain that moved 18,000, Harmony 1, 18,000, Anchor 34,000, and obviously a few others that like Multivac also performed incredibly well during that same time period. So we know it still, has performed better than the safer bets of Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? But not as well as some of those other altcoins. With that being said, though, the progress is quite good to see, and obviously getting it in nice and early. And specifically, I actually got in quite heavy around late September, in November time, right? Around this area down here was where I was really entering into Cardano in a big way. I think we then actually launched our stake pool at the end of 2020 as well, right? So one of the things that we obviously need to acknowledge is that sometimes you don't even notice that these trends are going on until you get into these later stages. And really, these 5 impulsive moves weren't really confirmed until we got to the top of wave 3, where we actually then came down into the lower bound of 4, right? And then obviously now we can predict out where that 5th wave is going. Okay, now obviously when it comes to Cardano, and one of the main reasons that I am just so relaxed on this is that I anticipate and I understand what's going on in the background, right? As a stake pool operator, we know kind of what is going on and what is being built on the ecosystem. And once that stuff launches, this price is absolutely popping to the upside, right? And one of the other things that we can obviously look at on this weekly chart before we talk about price appreciation and that 5th wave is the stochastic RSI. We were oversold at the bottom of wave 1 here, right? And then we went up into overbought on wave 1 by the time we peaked out. Oversold by wave 2, overbought for wave 3, oversold at the bottom of wave 4, back up to overbought, and then this action is really interesting. Is basically money's been rolling out, and I think ultimately what we actually saw was a spike ahead of schedule. Okay, basically what happened here is the month of September is kind of that month of pullbacks, right? We always kind of see September as the month of corrections. Now for wave 2, that was September, right? So the timing of this was actually quite an interesting one. We actually pushed up in August and then pulled back in September, whereas previously the bottom of wave 2 was September time. So being overbought actually kind of may have actually been a little bit of a problem for us. We have actually corrected this down, right, without doing too much damage to the price. So when we consider being overbought at the top of wave 3, going and having that crash for wave 4, taking us down to the oversold area from overbought, we actually have moved from overbought to oversold in a really quick way. So we have a lot of growth now inside our stochastic RSI for this weekly chart. And this is a weekly chart, which means that each candle is 1 week. It takes quite a bit of time to see this level of correction. So this is actually quite a promising position to be in for a weekly chart, specifically where we are in the bull run for Cardano. So obviously knowing that we're nice and oversold right now, huge potential push for the upside overall. We can then couple this information with the data that we also have inside our candles, right? So when we take into consideration the trends that we have for wave 1, the trend for down on wave 2, the trend up for wave 3, the trend down for wave 4, this actually allows us to predict out where wave 5 is likely to go. Okay, so using a trend-based Fibonacci retracement with extensions, we can basically take the low of wave 2, the high of wave 3, the low of wave 4, and basically when we plot these out, we're able to see that the 4.236 extension comes in at $11.31. So again, that's an overextension on what we've been talking about for quite some time of $10. So again, I feel that's pretty comfortable. When we take a look at the 3.618, that actually comes in at $9.81. The 2.618, this comes in at $7.37. A 200% move is $5.87. We have a 1.618 coming in at $4.94. There's some really interesting targets here, and once we actually start getting the transactional volume coming live with Cardano, this price I think is absolutely going to surge. And based on the trends that we can see here, without the transactional volume, and just as speculative investors come in, we obviously, just based on what we've seen so far, nothing new on the ecosystem, we can see $11. What do we think is actually going to happen once we see not just the speculative investors, but also, those dApps launching, those ERC20 converted projects moving from Ethereum over to the Cardano ecosystem? I think ultimately, we're going to potentially push much higher than this, but it's always good to be conservative, lock in those profits on some targets that we have, right? And so this weekly chart's really, really promising. And by the end of the bull run, we could potentially be looking at, if I just put that back for a second, we could be looking at Cardano making some really significant moves. Upwards of 64,000% in gains could be achieved here just on this one bull run with this one project. And obviously now that is significantly higher than what Ethereum will land at, higher than what Bitcoin will land at, and probably higher than many other altcoins as well. It's important that we acknowledge that although some people might consider Bitcoin and Ethereum safer bets, they are not going to make your portfolio pop massively to the upside. They're a good kind of hedge against inflation and things like that, because they're predictable in the fact that they are likely to go up. At least it is predictable for Bitcoin. I think Ethereum have some interesting things that are going to occur over the next few years, and it'll be interesting to see what actually happens to Ethereum. They will, in my opinion, lose market share. That's kind of a given, considering they were, the go-to smart contract platform, but that simply is not the case anymore, specifically with more smart contract platforms actually out there that are faster, secure, more secure, and just ultimately cheaper, right? So it's going to be obvious that they are going to lose market share, and it's not going straight to Cardano, and there'll be a whole host of other projects that will also swallow up some of that market. So you will have obviously Polkadot, you'll have Solana, you'll have Cardano, maybe even a bit of VeChain for enterprise level adoption on their smart contracts. So I think ultimately we're going to start seeing a bit of a mix here. Ethereum, I do anticipate moving down the ranks in the future. I don't see it as a number 2 cryptocurrency forever, unless they make some dramatic changes to their underlying natural protocol, which I don't think are likely to happen in time. So it's always good to take a look at Cardano here, take a look at the landscape as a whole and see where things are going. I'm optimistic on Cardano overall because, the data in the technical side here is looking very, very promising. But above and beyond that, we obviously know what's going on in the background. Specifically, if you're a stake pool operator, you know exactly kind of what's going on as well. And we're going to start seeing a lot more adoption of Cardano in the future as well. So for me, I think the bull run's going to end out there quite nicely towards that $11 to $12 range, spiking just above the $10. I'll call it $10 to be nice and conservative. Now, if we want to be even more conservative on it, we can jump down into our daily chart. Again, we can monitor what's been going on with the sideways trade. We're still inside the 618, so it's an okay position. Very disappointing that we closed below the $2.15 level, but again, it's not the end of the world. We can continue this motion to the upside. It's just going to take a little bit longer. So a bit disappointing, but overall not too bad. We can see that the stochastic RSI is in a pretty low position anyway. We are expecting a push up, but we're also expecting some volatility on a smaller time frame. I am expecting a pullbacks to occur, taking us down to about $1.90 again before pushing back up. up. And do expect us just to trade sideways for a little bit longer until things really start heating up on the ecosystem. But this is just an opportunity to keep buying at a cheaper rate, in my opinion. But yeah, if we want to be conservative about Cardano's price, we take the higher 3 and the lower 4, and this actually then just shows us moving out to $7.22. This is an area that we've been talking about for quite some time. You know, if you want to be really conservative about it, then just one trend. If we only look at one trend of the entire bull run, you know, that pullback from Bitcoin moving from 65k to 28k, you know, where does that actually show us moving? Well, that shows us at $7.20. One trend shows us $1.22. So I think, you know, I think that's a pretty conservative price to be had. But when we consider the entire bull run and all the trends that were involved in it, moving out towards $11.31 is also where I do think we are likely to actually land. Again, I think, you know, depending on the level of migration from Ethereum and then dApps launching, and when all that kind of stuff happens, we might push much higher, right? So just based on the data that we have available today, I'm seeing $11.31. And obviously, as we see more data coming in here, that's going to take us to different areas on the charts. Okay, I can't speculate on that because it could go anywhere, right? But based on the trends that we've seen so far, I would not be surprised to pass the $10 threshold. So overall, everything on Cardano is, you know, it's frustrating right now to see these kind of sideways trades. But ultimately, those are the opportunities to kind of build better positions ahead of where we're going. In my opinion, there's a good 5x in this at the moment, and again, that was pretty much in line with what the expectations are for the remaining part of the bull run across the board. We are expecting pretty much most projects to kind of 5x. There are a few exceptions where they won't go that high. You might only get a 2x on them, for example, but money is going to be rolling around the market. They're specifically concentrating on pushing certain coins right now, and then obviously it'll roll out of those and go into other ones. And nothing, you know, not all altcoins will basically pop to the upside at the same time. So you have to be quite aware that I think Cardano is probably going to be one of the last ones to actually get that real major push to the upside. The same thing happened with XRP in the previous bull run. You had a lot of other coins going first, and then XRP went last. And I think you're going to have quite a few altcoins that are kind of going to pop and get those all-time highs and really smash out their charts. And then money will roll out of those and go into ones that haven't popped yet, right? So basically people just constantly rolling their money and getting more and more gains. Now, that's not something that we tend to do on the channel. We just you know, might actually stick within the same project, maybe capitalize on selling at the top, getting the bounce, and then basically selling again once we reach to some interesting areas. But we won't be rolling around into different projects unless there's a clear opportunity to do so. But yeah, I think for Cardano, you know, patience is kind of king here. And I think long term, if we're ever in doubt, just pay attention to that weekly chart because it's looking very, very good. It's a good example of 5 impulsive moves to the upside. Some sideways trading here can be frustrating, but we are in a very good position with an oversold stochastic RSI and a good chart targeting out $11.31. Just over 5x on the current position. Overall, I'm not worried about Cardano. I think it's going to be something that is going to pop to the upside massively. It will be slightly later in the bull run than many of these other projects, and as such, we build a fantastic position continuously until the time comes where we just let it ride to the top. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there, but if you have found this useful and informative, hit that like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.